It was the spring of 2013, and Nintendo's Wii U was a console that wasn't doing so hot. I mean, it was impossible to fail, right? It had such stellar games like Ben 10 Omniverse 2. Like, how could you fail with such classics like this? But around the spring, Nintendo decided to partner with Sega to bring Sega's golden child, Sonic the Hedgehog, to the premier Wii U console exclusive games. The result was... yeah, what did you expect? But in the midst of this probably really poor business decision, birthed one of the oddest Sonic characters to exist in the modern day. A character so universally hated that it's probably one of the only common grounds the community actually agrees upon. Let me reintroduce you to Zavok, leader of the Deadly Six. Welcome to this new series where I analyze the more forgotten, hated, or interesting characters and give them a chance in the spotlight. Zavok made his debut appearance in Sonic Lost World as the main antagonist of the game, or at least the one that is most prominently featured in promotions and cutscenes, along with his 5 other companions of the Zeti. You see, the joke is like it's Yeti, but with the Z. You can see that Sonic team is very creative with their characters. And I know you might be expecting me to go on this long-winded detail about these clearly important characters, but all I can really do is sum them up with a single word each. Crazy, bad, old, girl, emo. Wait, did I describe 5 separate characters, or a fat, mean witch? Either way it works. Most of the fanbase really didn't take their designs, and especially their personalities, seriously. Combined with how one-note each of them are, with Sonic Lost World's creative writing and dialogue presentation.
They're gonna turn Tails into a robot! That's horrible!
That shows that they were more of a comedy first and villain second. Except, of course, for Zavok. Zavok's personality is actually kind of hard to pin down. Mostly because he really doesn't have a personality at all. He's just either an annoyed or angry conqueror that just desires destruction. I mean, there are a few moments in cutscene that he shows a little bit more emotion, and that he somewhat cares about the group that he's in. Most of the time, it kind of spells out every now and again. But for the most part, he just wants to defeat Sonic. Kind of like another red guy we know. Eggman was right, he is just an Eggman wannabe. Going back to the script, it's also very little lore about the Zeti and their debut appearance. I mean, again, this was meant to be more of a comedic adventure from the writer's standpoint. Case in point,
They're gonna turn Tails into a robot! That's horrible!
the only small amount of lore we get is the old Zeti Zik, who trains Zavok and presumably the rest of the Deadly Six. But like, that's about it. No general origin, no reason why they have the ability to control machines with their mind, no actual starting motives. Zavok just hijacks Eggman's plan and uses it as his own, which is basically identical to Eggman's plan of just gaining power from the Minecraft-ass looking trees down the planet below. I don't know why they look like Minecraft trees, but they do. Think about all the many other Sonic villains for a second, like Chaos. He didn't even have a voice, and not only showed more strength towards the player, but also gave us more lore. The most recent Sonic villain that was similar to Sonic's size was Mephiles the Dark. And to be fair, most of the problems with his character was the plot of 06 being so confusing, philosophers couldn't even decipher what the point of the story was. But at least Mephiles left a fearful, lasting impact, and also just kind of aura farms constantly. Zavok doesn't really have any of that. Him and his whole crew just failed from inception, only to be brought down the exact same way. At least he has a fitting voice. Travis Willingham at least sounded pretty good for the direction that he was given. Definitely better than the 2 that were in the game previously. Like, seriously, what is Knuckles even doing in this game? Before I end this section, I do want to touch on his boss fights, because they're painfully mid. Kind of like most of the bosses in Sonic Lost World, actually. He does have a cool mechanical dragon, for some reason, but hey, it's cool. Too bad his first fight could be cheesed very easily with a bounce. I mean, it's still pretty decent. His second fight is kinda cool, a little confusing at first, but at least it's kinda decent and the atmosphere is pretty nice. Same goes with the music. But his final battle is special. You see, he shoots fire in the lava-like area, and once you get into his second phase, he grows big, and he chases you while breathing large fireballs. And the floor is collapsing beneath you. Oh my god, this is just Bowser! The fire shooting, the dragons, the crazy collection of minions with selective one-note personalities. Bowser gets away with it because he's at least funny, powerful, and iconic. It's like if you asked an AI generator to make a red Bowser and this guy just showed up instead. The only key difference is that there is no princess to steal. I mean, Tails acts like a stuck-up princess in this game. Maybe he ain't getting rid of the Bowser allegations after all. So what did we learn from his first experience? Nothing, actually. There's really nothing to note to Zavok. But the craziest thing is, he's still probably the better written character in this game. I mean, it's not really a high bar to cross, mostly because...
They're gonna turn Tails into a tail. That's tail.
But at least he is simple. He also brings a lot of the plot forward, and I do like his tone and general energy. I just kind of wish he didn't just vanish after the last fight with him. But no, this is a Sonic game. Eggman needs to be the final boss. So honestly, that's probably it for Zavok. Him and his colorful, deranged friends. I mean, most of the Sonic villains barely make it past one game anyway. So he's gone, right? Hello, unoriginal Axolotl here. What? What do you mean he came back? Look at the length of the video. Ah, son of a bitch! I mean, this was expected, right? What else am I supposed to talk about this series? Oh wait, a few videos ago? Damn. Yes, Zavok makes his grand return to the spin-off series at Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. These titles are just very, very hard to read sometimes. But again, this is mostly expected. Most of the time in these games, returning characters just show up to be a boss fight. Characters like King Boo, Rouge the Bat, Dry Bowser, and Eggman next. So Zavok here, he's a boxer, which is kind of fitting, honestly. He will beat up everybody in his way. Men, women, children, machines that kind of look like the main character, gorillas, and whatever hell a Waluigi is supposed to be. Well, honestly, that's kind of it for this iteration of the character. He just wants to fight. I mean, that is kind of new for the character. Hell, I'll take anything at this point. Also, Zaz is here, and he's a table tennis master for some reason. Small tangent, but they also really like using Zaz for a lot of the spin-offs. My theory is for why Zaz is mostly everywhere is that he's the first boss in Sonic Lost World, collected the point where all the older fans quickly stopped playing Sonic Lost World. But a tangent over. That's it for Zavok, right? This is a very short section, and, well, Zavok is gone, right? Go! Who threw this piece of garbage at me? Sonic forces me to talk about Sonic Forces. I mean, the only person who is forcing me to forcibly talk about Sonic Forces is me. Anyways, I'm forcing this joke. Let's talk about Sonic Forces Zavok with Direct Force. So, in the trailers leading up to the game, we got this iconic trailer with the three main characters facing off against the villains of the past. Shadow, Metal Sonic, Chaos, and Zavok.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on.
But unfortunately for the 7 fans of this character, he actually wasn't there. Him, along with all the other returning villains, are just illusions created by the Phantom Ruby to make endless copies of said villains for a bigger army. They're illusions, but they can also hurt you and display actual voices. Sometimes. Forces is a mess, honestly. Zavok does get a boss fight, and credit where credit is due, it is unique. He has the ability to control mechs, and it harken back where he actually rose a giant dragon. Is it a fun fight? Not really. It's mostly just a lot of standing around until he makes a bad play and he eventually gets dominated by Sonic. Honestly, the highlight for me and a lot of people. But hey, at least he's the second best boss of the returning villains. And if you don't get the joke, there are only 2 returning villain boss fights in the whole game. Forces is a mess. But whatever, Zavok, but not Zavok, is gone, like all the other Zavok clones, and the real Zavok is playing daddy to all the other Zeddy and the Lost Hex. Zavok is gone, right? Dude has more regular appearances than Chaos at this point. He's not gonna get back into the spotlight?
Bruh.
Oh my god, how does he stay alive? Team Sonic Racing. It's a racing game with teams and Sonic characters. The title sums it all up. It's a very unique style of a racing game, focusing more on teamwork rather than pure competitiveness. It's a cool concept, but execution-wise, I feel like it could have been a little bit better. Sometimes it feels like it can do tremendously well, only for my team just to bring me down. Thanks again, Knuckles! And I mean, it's nice having the full roster of Sonic heroes playable again. Hello, it's the Joker user. Oh, Team Chaotix is this now? They did what to Cream the Rabbit? Okay, so what do we got for Team Eggman? Orbot Cubots? Or Infinite? He was in the last game. Yeah, can I have my resignation letter now? Yeah, Zavok is on Team Eggman, even though these two bitterly hate each other. This is where the Zavok hate train really started getting its coal going. It's not only the fact that he showed up in this racing game with only 15 playable characters, but one of those slots is used on a rather underwhelming villain to a lot of people. Not like Zavok is really important in the story mode in this game. Bro shows up late into the game, no one in this story actually cares that he's here, and all he does in the game is just kidnap the Donpa. Wow, he's really not beating the Bowser clone allegations now. Bro doesn't even get paid for this. Why is he here? For the sport of the competition? I mean, if that's the case, I can kind of respect it. One thing I actually have to note that bothers me in this game is just the way Zavok's textures look. I've neglected to talk about his overall design in this video, but it's a fine design, nothing too noteworthy. It's a little silly at points, especially if you look at his logo, but his portrait here just makes him look so plastic. Like I can easily detach his head like a figurine from Funko. But one thing I will definitely compliment Zavok on is his new vocal cord, being now voiced by the one, the only, the guy who dubs over every buff dude in anime, Patrick Sates. I probably mispronounced that, but I'm sorry. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy Travis's take on the character, but it's either driving as him or as freaking Dio! Some of his lines that are just delivered with so much more gusto, and thankfully, one of the better things I can compliment this game on is the amount of unique voice lines for the character. So here are some of my personal favorites from Zavok.
Enter the avalanche called Zavok. Damn, this will cost me points. You'll pay for that wall. Cringe before Zavok.
Believe you me, we've been cringing since 2013, buddy. Also, if I had a nickel every time Patrick voiced a dude that was big, strong, and has fire powers, I would have 2 nickels. The fuck you mean I would have 7? Okay, but that's about it for Zavok and Team Sonic Racing. Basically just a wasted character slot for infinitely more interesting characters to join instead. I mean, I guess they couldn't pay Matt Mercer enough to play Espio again. Yes, I'm dead serious, Matt Mercer is Espio. But I'm tired of this nothing burger of a character. Sure, he's the main meat of the Deadly Zest, but all the condiments are just stinky. Is there, like, any form of Zavok that's actually interesting in some way? By paying $40. Yes, we are diving into the Sonic comic series, the IDW specifically, a territory that I'm pretty unfamiliar with. I've just never really been a comic sort of guy. I can respect the amount of art and effort that comes into them, but it's just the media that I can admire from a distance. But it's finding whether the right issue or the price jump that matters. It may not be worth it to a guy like me. Unless you are a filthy pirate. Nah, but I was curious about the history of this specific character, and I want to see how different he can be written by a completely different writer. His first appearance was in the 2013 prequel comic for Lost World's Halloween Comic Fest. It's just the prequel that explains the events of Sonic Lost World. That's about it. At least it's a bit of lore. The next appearance is during the Metal Virus arc. This time he joins forces with Dr. Starline, an exclusive character to the IDW comics. Before he was Eggman's assistant, but then they joined forces to take control of the corrupted Zombot citizens and control them using their abilities. Quite the devious plan, I'll say. Especially after Zavok manages to gain full control of Eggman's fleet and the robots after a devastating exchange. And after they gain full control of the Emeralds, it's no short time they start conquering area after area until the world comes next. Not only are they jerks, they're capitalizing on the dire situation and turning it into an opportunity. It treads similarly to Lost World story and even a little bit of Forces, especially after Eggman joins forces with Sonic yet again after being betrayed. But these guys are actually quite a threat. Their dialogue isn't actually as corny as in Lost World, so it's kind of nice seeing them written in a bit more of a serious manner. It also helps with many different characters interact with these guys. So many different dynamics work really well. In the end, Zavok actually uses the Chaos Energy near the end and he turns all big and stuff like that. And we even get to see a little bit of Super Sonic and Super Silver, which is kinda lit, I can't even lie. He gets defeated, and his next appearance is in the spin-off comic series right after the events of the Metal Virus arc, titled Sonic the Hedgehog, The Bad Guys, where Dr. Styline teams up with Zavok, Mimic, Ruff, and Tumble. Also some characters introduced in the comics. It's just interesting to see Zavok team up with other characters besides his colorful / deranged cast of lunatics. Think of this mini comic series as just a bridge to come back to the slight main story, just to keep up to where, you know, this guy is. Zavok makes his final appearance so far in the issue number 41, where after the adventure of the bad guys, Zavok recruits back up the previously captured members of the Deadly Six to try to start world domination yet again. And it's up to Sonic and the gang to track them down and return them to the Lost Hex, where they successfully do after a pretty entertaining fight scene, where after they get sent up to the Lost Hex, they are gone. And that's it for them in the IDW. At least for now, you never know. But overall, I gotta say, Zavok is pretty cool in this, along with the rest of the Deadly Six. It's nice seeing another shot at being the main villains, for at least a pretty overall dark arc in the Sonic IDW comics. What I like about Zavok and the Deadly Six is that they're just taken as a serious threat. I mean, they can be serious in Lost World, but because of, you know...
They're gonna turn penis!
It's played off more as a joke rather than a big world-ending threat, even though it really was a world-ending threat. You get what I'm saying here. The fact they managed to get everyone involved was no short of very pleasing. I do still have my problems with the other members of the Six, but in the hands of a halfway decent writer, Zavok is pretty cool in the IDW comics. There's also a lot of cool / raw panels of them, and shout out to the many artists involved in the series. They do an excellent job. Though I only just started reading through it, and wow, there's so much good stuff here. I honestly would like to dive more into these IDW comics in the future. And I can finally see why people like Tangle and Whisper so much. Glad to see them coming to Crossworlds soon. Oh, wait! Segway achieved! Yippee! And finally, we enter the newest incarnation of the character in Sonic Racing Crossworlds. I mean, okay, well, he had a small appearance in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games in 2020 in Tokyo, but he's just a boxer again. It doesn't really matter. Unlike the previous game where it had a story mode, you may think there isn't much to talk about when it comes to the Zavok. Well, you're kinda right, but you're also kinda wrong. Zavok makes his grand return as another playable racer, with Zaz showing up too. No love for Zik, I see. Very biased. But where I'm going with this is that every character in the game has an interaction with another character where you're playing as them or facing them as your rival. There's a total of 23 characters in the base game, so 23 times 23 is over 500 different interactions with each character. You know, except for these two bozos, they can't even speak. And I'll be honest, Zavok over here probably has some of the rawest backtalk amongst the cast, whether he's crushing the dreams of young children.
Who allowed this obnoxious child into the event? No matter, I have no qualms with crushing the dreams of children.
Or he wants to straight up fight against the strongest characters in the roster.
I like your attitude, machine. After the race, shall we see which one of us is mightier?
To actually giving some lore about the future with Silver's interactions.
We have lasted for centuries, and will endure for many more. You are just a footnote in our long and deadly legacy.
And my personal favorite, being actually fearful of the strongest creature in the Sonic canon.
I sense a tremendous power behind those words. Am I feeling fear?
Also, shout out this comic right here. Stand proud. You're strong. What is this? It also helps that Patrick makes his grand return voicing Zavok, and combined with his colorful vocabulary and overall gusto while performing, I gotta say, he convinced a lot of people that he can actually cook with the right writer involved. I can't say the same for Zaz, though. I mean, it's gonna take a lot more than being a country bumpkin to impress me. But hey, it's a start. The only other thing I can note about Crossworld's interpretation of the character is that I like Zavok's car design. That's pretty cool. While he's stringing out a board, he just straight up aura farms like crazy. And my personal favorite, the modding community gave him jiggle physics. Someone being down bad for Zavok was something I was not expecting for this video. And as of the current release of this video, there is no other appearance of this crazy Yeti monster creature thing. There's obviously stuff I missed, like I'm mentioning him in Forces and some references to the character in other games, but overall, Zavok just doesn't want to leave. Think about all the other popular Sonic villains, like Chaos, Mephiles, or Infinite. Okay, maybe not that guy, but they only got one moment to shine in the spotlight before the carpet gets whisked away and they get sent to Sega HQ jail to rot until their inevitable return, so they get referenced by the writers again. Zavok is just that weird exception where he just keeps coming back even though everyone kind of doesn't like him, despite the fact that he never really did anything wrong. Honestly, the biggest problem with the character was the fact that he was basically the villain in two of the weakest Sonic games in the 2010s. I feel like that's more of the fault with the writers and higher-up than with the actual character himself. Mostly the fact they want a more comedical adventure. Comedy relief villains actually work, I mean just look at Scratch and Grounder. But those guys at least look silly. What's silly about this face? I guess it's just the fact that he's a serious boss in a group full of circus clowns, which, I mean, it does work for the character. I'm just happy they at least had a couple of great moments, especially in IDW and Crossworlds. I'm noticing a small pattern here, but how I should really fix the character is just to keep him in spin-offs at this point, whether it's racing or boxing. Hell, maybe a fighting game might work. He might work like the Ginyu Squad, who knows. He had his time in the spotlight, and in the end, I kinda grew to like this big fella. He may be a C tier in terms of quality for Sonic villains, but you can't deny, he at least made a lasting impact. And I can respect that. Can't say the same for Zaz, though. I mean, I want him taking primarily dead for his insanity alone. Please, put this creature down.